and thank you so much. As I said, we're looking at twin developments. The horrible news is coming out of Jammu and Kashmir, and I want to start with you, General Hasnain, if I may. You have been arguing that while everybody thought that Jammu had become the new epicenter of terror, in many ways, it is important for Pakistan-backed terror groups, and the Lashkar's hand is reported in this dastardly attack that has taken place in the last few hours, that it is very important for Pakistan to keep the focus on Kashmir, because otherwise the narrative is slipping away from them. Even their own position that they would not engage with India till India rolled back the abrogation of 370 isn't holding. I was in Pakistan. I met Nawaz Sharif. He didn't even mention Kashmir as he spoke about wanting to sit down with Prime Minister Modi. What do you make of the timing of what we're seeing unfold in the Kashmir Valley?
Barkha, thank you very much for inviting me for this very important program. And I would start by using two words. One is relevance, which I've used many times on your program before. And the second is opportunity. Opportunity, it reminds me of Pathankot, 1st of January 2016. Similarly, Sushma Swaraj ji had gone for the Heart of Asia conference, and Prime Minister Modi had made a dash to Lahore on the 25th of December, and 6 days later, we saw what happened at Pathankot. This has got a similar narrative, it appears, out here. Things were going good. We had the peaceful Lok Sabha elections, peaceful assembly elections. The Omar Abdullah government come into place, national conference now in well embedded, and we thought everything will go well. Obviously, it won't go well for Pakistan if this kind of a narrative continues, because Pakistan will continue to lose relevance. All this time, they have been attempting to regain their relevance in the Jammu region, primarily because the opportunities came there. There were voids there, the security voids there, and Kashmir at that time was just too well secured. It seems now suddenly they've taken the risk and they decided to get back to what I call the center of gravity, and that is Kashmir. And in Kashmir, they can't get to Anantnag, Baramulla, Srinagar, Shupian, because these are the citadel, very well held by the Indian security forces. They decided to come to the peripheral areas. And the peripheral areas, you have a choice. You can go to the Kishan Ganga project. You can go to Uri 1, Uri 2, you can go to Zojila, you can go to Banihal, any of these places. These are comparatively lightly held. And therefore, the chance has been taken and a message has been conveyed primarily to convey to India that your narrative in Kashmir is not going to work the way you think it's going to
work. You know, the fact is that it's very schizophrenic, if I may say. I mean, you say Kashmir remains Pakistan's center of gravity. The narrative is slipping away from them. But before I open this up, the schizophrenia is this. Nawaz Sharif, the former three-time Prime Minister of Pakistan, whose daughter is the Chief Minister of Punjab in Pakistan, whose brother is the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Yes, it's questionable how much space he really has to act autonomously of the Pakistan military. But when he talks about, and he said this to me in an exclusive interview, he said, I want to sit down with the Prime Minister. I wish Prime Minister Modi had come. He talks about how, the Kargil war following the Lahore Declaration was a betrayal. These are Nawaz Sharif's words. How do we understand this kind of schizophrenia where a Lashkar, reportedly, a Lashkar-backed shadow outfit targets the most marginalized, giving this sort of message by targeting an infrastructure project, but killing poor construction laborers. And at the same time, Pakistan is trying to engage India. What is going on here? How do you understand this dichotomy?
First of all, targeting the choice of target, obviously to create a communal tension, to target the lowest strata of society, target Hindus in particular. In this case, they went wrong and they've targeted almost everyone. But when it comes back to the issue of Pakistan and their choice, I think Azad Saab will be able to tell you perhaps better that Pakistan is ruled, as we are all aware, by a deep state which is layered. Which layer is thinking what? None of us really can ever imagine. And it's one layer which is talking to you, Barkha, and telling you everything is hunky-dory, we need to get together. We regret what happened in Kargil. We regret what happened with the Lahore Yatra. Yet there is another layer within the deep state which is planning something completely different. This is a devious organization which loves to speak in different languages, and that perhaps is a part of their overall strategic plan.
Yeah. Dr. Kaul, it is your party that leads the government now in Jammu and Kashmir. Restoration of statehood is only, I think, a matter of time. This is also a message to to all those who took part in these elections with such enthusiasm. I think General Hasnain has a very important point here, that if Pakistan can't speak to the world about, you know, alleged oppression, because there has been an election that has taken place where there has been such enthusiastic participation that even Jamaat-e-Islami, that hasn't engaged with the electoral process since 1987, fielded or backed 10 independent candidates, right? uh, Farooq Abdullah today saying Kashmir will not allow to be Pakistan. There is a message here to all those who are also taking part in the mainstream of our electoral politics. And this time we've seen an entire variation of the kind of people who have taken part. What do you make of this horrific attack that has unfolded, as General Hassan said, targeting targeting non-locals, as they're called, targeting Hindus, a Muslim doctor also among those who have been killed, Dr. Kaur?
I mean, first of all, let's all admit that this is a horrific incident, and in fact, we've grown sick of condemning things. And although on this program, bottom line tonight, we have a horrific news, but and the other, hopefully, the second China news is a little bit more, helpful and promising, and one can smile up to it. But Kashmir, we've been on the horrific side for a long, long time, and I don't see this any different than what it was earlier. Targets may have changed, whether it is defense capability, whether it is infrastructural projects, whether it is minority targets, or whether it is those targets can be shifting according to the strategy that our enemies tend to exploit. And I completely agree with you, the schizophrenia is the correct word. But I don't only say that it's just Pakistan. Pakistan is just wildly schizophrenic. That's not the only country. Most countries are when they deal with each other. United States, for that matter, they engage us on one front and make friendly overtures, and on the other hand, do many other things under the hand, and which upsets and which hurts us. So this, they may do it with more finesse, but Pakistan does it more crudely. And I'm not even sure whether they're in control of all the layers. And I agree with the layer theory, but we have the layers too. But ours are a little bit more docile and more humble. Theirs are wilder, because it is a wild, wild country.
Yeah, but
the message that is coming down to the people, there have always been this 10% detractors of the Indian state in Jammu and Kashmir. It is a message to them that they may be down, but they're not out, which is exactly what we've been trying to convey for a long, long time. They may be dormant, depending on what the situation is. They are down, they may be weaker today, but they could be regrouping also. So there is a lot of other things happening at the same time. Rest, regroup, re-strategize, and then come back in the way which suits you best. Because your defense also changes. If it went the Jammu way, then you bolstered up the Jammu defense. Now they want to do it elsewhere, because it is a game, continuous game that's being played. It's unfortunate that the state and its people, whoever they are, whether they're in Jammu or the Pir Panchals or this side now, they are facing the brunt of it. They are the ones who are dying. And now people from outside the state also, because now there's no abrogation. After abrogation, there are people from every part of the state, and these laborers come to earn their wages. So unfortunate, they're also having to take part in this. But the question is, they are down, but they're not out. And the central government, really, it's tricky. It's easy for us to say, oh, talk to them. And okay, talk to whom? You can't talk to them. That's what Dr. Abdullah very clearly said. I've always felt that neighbors need to be talked to, because you can't change them. Friends can change, but neighbors are there forever. So you need to be friends with them. But the issue is, we also understand, how can you talk to people who murder or aid murderers, or are not able to control murders, whatever the situation be?
Yeah, I think that's very important. Having just returned from Pakistan, I don't even know what it means, talk to Pakistan. If you're going to talk to those who are calling for engagement but don't have power, what is the purpose of that engagement? I think that's the bottom line, right? I don't deny that perhaps Nawaz Sharif is taking a political risk in the comments that he makes. He certainly paid a political price for it before. But Yash Azad, before I come to you and Mr. Sachdev on that, I want to play out. Our reporters are on the ground in the Kashmir Valley, and they have met with the relatives of those who have been killed. Yes, the target, as General Hasnain said, clearly designed at communal tension, targeting non-locals, non-Muslims, but a local doctor attached to this project, a Kashmiri family, a Kashmiri Muslim, also killed. So when you target, everybody suffers. You can't calibrate terror to the perfection that you may want it to. You, in this case, being the terrorists. Take a look at these scenes of devastation.
मेरे पापा ने बोला मैंने ठान लिया है मैं आपको एक आईएएस ऑफिसर बनाऊंगा, लेकिन कल जब मैंने ये खबर सुनी तो मुझे लगा कि मेरा ये ख्वाब जो है शायद अब पूरा नहीं होगा, क्योंकि अब मैं क्या करूं, अब मैं अपने आप को संभालूं, अपने फैमिली मेंबर्स को संभालूं, मैं भी इन बच्चों जैसा हूं। अब इन बच्चों ये बच्चे खेलते कूदते हैं, मैं क्या करूं, मुझ पर मुसीबत आ पड़ी है। अब मेरी इंतजामिया से यही गुजारिश है कि वो आए, एसएसपी से मैं गुजारिश करता हूँ, एसपी साहब से गुजारिश करता हूँ, डीसी साहब से गुजारिश करता हूँ कि वो यहाँ आए, मेरे इस ख्वाब पर वो ध्यान दे कि ये बच्चा क्या करना चाहता है, मेरा ख्वाब जाया नहीं होना चाहिए।
It is so difficult to actually watch this. A son whose father was a doctor, he dreamt of being in the IAS. He now watches his father's life just taken in this way. Yashur Azad, what are we being, when I say we, I mean the Indian state, the security agencies, we're being provoked into something here. That's what's happening. What are we being provoked into saying, doing? Because this is very difficult to watch.
Yeah, there are three things I want to, point out. First is that I was expecting an attack of this kind as soon as the new regime came. From Clinton's time, as General would support me, in Chittit Singh Pura, to almost every important thing, as he had also mentioned, there is something or the other which happens. And right now is a very good time because Jaishankar being there and kind of a thaw in relations in the sense that people want to talk. But let me also, at the very outset, talk about the important observation which the general made about the layers of administration. It suits Nawaz Sharif to talk about, trade ties and other ties with the country because, his bread and butter is not Kashmir. He's a rich businessman and he realizes the advantage. Also, Pakistan going through such, terrible economic adversity, it's important that they have a big partner in India, like India has China, and we have never been able to stop any kind of trade with them because of adverse trade of balance. The third thing which I want to mention is that within Kashmir itself, as the GOC 15 years said, that there are about 80 terrorists here. But certainly there is an element of support also from within Kashmir, that the migrants who are coming there, people who are upset about Article 370, people who are upset about, people coming in from other parts. So there's a cauldron, there is a lot of mixed things happening here. And with the elections was the time when there were many attempts to create some kind of trouble. And I credit the government for conducting the elections so well. And I also credit the government because today in the entire world, also in the OIC, the Islamic countries, there's no talk anything about Kashmir. So it's only the rant is by Pakistan, and they themselves realize that this is not possible. So the only way to do these, create these jitters, is by sending more and more drones. As you have said, that BSF has hit down about 80 drones. That will continue. These attacks will definitely continue. And another very important thing, Barkha, which I want to tell you is that irrespective of the governments, irrespective of the regimes, nothing has really changed. Yes, the intensity of the attacks go down. The number of incidents will definitely go down, but we have to treat this as another day in office. And as far as talks go, I would say talk on anything. If they talk on dal, bhat, bhujia, let's talk. But in the end, the caveat should always be there. Stop the incidents of the border and we'll continue. But we'll have to take these hits because wherever, as the general rightly said, wherever the security grid is not strong, and it is very strong in most of the areas, they're going to take chances. And that's why we have this, the biggest hit of this year. And we have to just carry along. And most important now is Omar Abdullah and how he's going to react to it. It has to be a mature response. It has to be a very stable response and not something like a knee-jerk reaction.
That's a good question, but is it in the hands of the national conference-led government? Is it in the hands of the police? Who has to respond to this? This is also an important question. I want to, because Omar Abdullah doesn't control the police right now. This is not a full state, so that's just something to think about. Will the unified command have to be reimagined for Jammu and Kashmir, especially before statehood is restored, is something I want General Hasnain to talk about. But I want to play out Farooq Abdullah's statement and then come back to both Robin, to Mr. Sachdeva and to General Hasnain. Take a look.
बहुत ही दर्दनाक वाक़ा है। कई गरीब मजदूर जो अपनी कमाई के लिए यहाँ आते हैं और फिर ख़ानदान के लिए भी कुछ पैसा भेजते हैं, उन बेचारों को इन दरिंदों ने कल शहीद कर दिया। उसके साथ साथ हमारे एक डॉक्टर साहब भी थे जो लोगों की खिदमत करते हैं, कल वो भी अपनी जान खो बैठे। अब बताइए मुझे, इन दरिंदों को मिलेगा क्या? क्या वो समझते हैं इससे यहाँ पाकिस्तान बनेगा? मैं पाकिस्तान के हुक्मरानों से ये कहना चाहता हूँ, अगर वो सचमुच हिंदुस्तान से दोस्ती चाहते हैं तो फिर ये बंद कीजिए। कश्मीर पाकिस्तान नहीं बनेगा, नहीं बनेगा, नहीं बनेगा।
Impassioned as ever, Farooq Abdullah there. Mr. Sachdeva, if you just give me a moment, I just want General Hasnain to come on one thing and then I'll come to you. You spoke about Kashmir inevitably becoming the center of gravity for Pakistan because the narrative was slipping away from them. If we speak for a moment about some things that we've seen take place in the Kashmir Valley in the last few days, International Cricket League, right? Hundreds of thousands of people outside the stadium because it was full beyond capacity. The marathon, the chief minister was among those running that marathon. The day starts with the marathon, it ends with this, right? Clearly, the attempt here seems to be, we will not let you normalize. We will not let this a place which is flooded with tourists, with marathoners, with young men and women out watching cricket. We will try and not let it normalize. Is that the message, General Hasnain?
Absolutely, very clear. This is exactly what I was alluding to when I mentioned that the center of gravity in any of these kind of operations of hybrid proxy war operations, there will be a center of gravity. In fact, there are multiple centers of gravity. The first center of gravity, which we all identify, is the people of Jammu and Kashmir. And I don't say Kashmir, it's Jammu and Kashmir, right? But when it comes to territory, it comes to the locations, it is the Kashmir Valley which in the eyes of Pakistan holds greater importance. And that's why they probably want to devote their focus to this as the center of gravity. Because they went to Jammu, they targeted Jammu primarily because of opportunities and because of the voids which were created there. But the normalization process is starting all from Kashmir. As you said yourself, it's now tourism, the aspect of the marathon, and so many other things. Also, the very important fact that the capital no longer moves. It is Srinagar, which is actually the Darbar location at the moment. So it is Kashmir which is important, and they will continue making every effort to try and come back to Kashmir, although Jammu is not going to be missed out either.
Yeah. I want to bring in the parallel news that is developing before Mr. Ravinder Sachdev responds. Our top diplomat says a breakthrough has been reached with China. Now, why this is important is because our troops have been battling tensions on two fronts. There are eyeball to eyeball sort of hundreds of thousands of sort of troops across Jammu and Kashmir, but thousands at least in eastern Ladakh itself. I won't give an exact number for operational reasons. And then there is, of course, what's happening at the line of control. And then there is, of course, the international border. Now, we know from what Vikram Misri has said that India and China have agreed to a patrolling agreement and disengagement process is underway. Can we play out that statement before we come to Mr. Sachdeva? We can play that out.
The agreement that has been reached Let me restate what I said earlier. I think what I've said speaks for itself and is fairly clear. There has been, you're aware of the events that took place in 2020 in several areas along the line of actual control. We've been in discussions with Chinese interlocutors, both at a diplomatic level, through the WMCC, as was mentioned earlier as well, and through the at the military level as well, through meetings of the military commanders at various levels. These discussions had in the past resulted in the resolution of standoffs at various locations. You're also aware that there were a few areas and few locations where the standoff had not been resolved. Now, as a result of the discussions that have taken place over the last several weeks, an agreement has been arrived at on patrolling arrangements along the line of actual control in the India-China border areas. And this is leading to disengagement and eventually a resolution of the issues that had arisen in these areas in 2020.
So this is leading to a disengagement and eventually a resolution. Jaishankar has since told NDTV that the disengagement process has also made good progress, and it's the disengagement process with China has in fact been completed. This is the latest update that we have from Jaishankar speaking earlier to the NDTV network. Mr. Suchdev, we can't disconnect these two developments for the simple reason that Pakistan is almost like a vassal state of China. And when Jaishankar was in Islamabad, India opposed once again the resolution that sought to be approved by other countries there on China's Belt and Road Initiative. Right now, so this is these are all many wheels within wheels. I'm actually a bit confused. What do you make of these two parallel developments?
No, thank you so much. Absolutely, yes. I mean, the CPEC corridor for China is an absolute must. It gives it access to the warm waters and it cuts down its import, export time, freight costs, etc. Right? So, I mean, there is no way China is going to give up on the CPEC corridor, and no way that it will allow Pakistan also to step away from it, even whatever be the cost. In a way, it's like an iron wall which China has constructed for India for our expansion towards the north, because whatsoever may be, I mean, that would be a physical this thing. And of course, it goes through our Gilgit-Baltistan, which is our territory. So that whole issue will not be, I don't see it being resolved. But coming to this border disengagement or the agreement on the patrolling, great development, some development at least. Two questions. One, right now, is our foreign secretary, or are we talking about, we have come to a common understanding on border patrolling all along the LAC? The LAC is about 3,500 so odd kilometers. There are about 40 to 45 points where we dispute each other. Or are they talking, it seems, only the Kalwan region that has been agreed for the joint patrolling? That's one. Secondly, to me, it indicates that this thought, etc., I think it's being, ponied up, readied for the BRICS summit where Modi and Xi could meet. Now, therefore, the point is, China would not have agreed for this, let's say, this agreement. If China had not agreed, there would not have been a bilateral in Kazan. I would almost think so, right? So if China is agreeing for this, thaw, then it means there's a Modi-Xi bilateral on the cards. But if there's a Modi-Xi bilateral on the cards, what is it that China and India, or China is looking to achieve through that bilateral, that it is compromising on this border issue for the time being to get India to talk to it? So that's another question to my mind.